thanks for doing this, and congratulations on the record. I really enjoyed it. So it's just coming out like tomorrow, right? Or the next day, or whatever it is.
Tomorrow for you, yeah.
Yeah. It gets very confusing. So how are you feeling about putting it out?
Good, man. Good. The press has been really overwhelmingly great. The response has been awesome. It was a long rollout. It was like 6 months of singles and
right,
kind of, really stretching it out because what else is there to do? So it was long, but it feels like a huge weight off my chest. I can't wait.
Oh, excellent. Well, yeah, it sounds great. And my understanding is the comparison to the previous album to this one, the other one you kind of worked on alone mostly. This one you were more collaborative. And of course, everybody else is kind of doing the opposite because they're all locked down. They're all working by themselves. So tell me about why you decided at this point to come up with that process.
Well, we made the record before quarantine, I should say.
Okay.
So it was a decision I had made like sometime in 2019 because we made the record in the fall and winter of 2019 into 2020. So that was just a decision I had made after making such a solo record. It was sort of out of necessity of like no label, no budget, what else is there to do but just go ahead and make it yourself. I always wanted to make a big record with as many people as possible. I grew up playing in bands with tons of different collaborators, so it's always been in my heart, and making something so solo was sort of intense. But getting through that, and then having that record live a little life of its own, and then from there being able to go into the studio with a producer, Sam Cohen,
right,
and just work with all of these incredible musicians who are some of my heroes, and work with different artists and work with different just collaborators on so many different fronts. It was a dream come true.
Very cool. Now, one of the people that you're collaborating with is kind of a heavy hitter, Nels Cline from Wilco. So
yes,
I was very excited to see him involved in this, and he turns in some pretty cool performances. So how did you get him roped into working with you?
Well, we had actually met. I was working a job at this really cool shop, TR Crandall Guitars, in New York, in Manhattan. And he was just a regular there, and we got to know each other, and we took a liking to each other, and eventually I just asked him. We had gotten to the point where it wasn't weird,
right?
And I just said, do you want to play on this record? And he immediately said yeah, and it was really cool.
Nice. And so how did he kind of fit in with what you were? Did you have discussions? Did you just kind of let him do his thing? How did it work?
Sam and I, we knew early on in the sessions that he was going to come into the studio to add his Nels Cline style all over it. So we kind of had that in mind, and we had those conversations about it too. Like, okay, because Sam is known for his guitar playing as well. He's called into other sessions quite often. So it's easy to just say like, oh, we need a crazy face melting guitar solo. Sam, why don't you just do it? So we made that conscious decision to say like, okay, let's leave this section for Nell, or let's do something else here. Sam played all the slide guitar on it, and he played some of the electric on it as well. And then Nels came into the studio like a month later because it took a while. I went on tour with my buddy Fote for a month, and then we were doing sessions spread throughout. And then I went back to the studio after we had flown back from LA, and then like the next day was in the studio, and Nels came and just recorded over the whole record, and it was a blast. It was super cool. Let him do his thing.
Cool. So I understand that the sessions were split into kind of two batches before and after this tour that you just referred to. Was that planned to work like that, or did it just kind of happen?
Sort of. I mean, we were working on scheduling the record at the time, at like the beginning of fall.
Right.
And this opportunity came up to to tour for a month, playing really, it was helping out my buddy Fote, and these were really great rooms, and it was just a great opportunity to sort of get away from everything and travel for a minute, which seemed like a really cool idea in between sessions, to sort of jump away and then take a big deep breath while exploring the country, and then a month later have those sessions booked right away, so you can kind of just use that momentum to jump right back in. So that was a decision. Once the opportunities came up, it was just like, totally, that's exactly how we should make this record.
Right. Very cool. So is there a difference between the two sessions? Did you record them in different places, or are they pretty much in the same studio?
They're in the same studio. It was in Sam's studio in Brooklyn. And yeah, I mean, as far as the sessions go, same people, same spaces, or, same space, but it was, there was definitely more confidence when we came back. There was more sense of adventure and experimentation when we came back.
Right.
Yeah. It was definitely more of the first week that we were in the studio before the sessions was like, let's get a really good groove down. It was me, Josh Yeager, and Sam, and we just recorded all of the songs live together in a room.
Right.
Let's get good grooves. Let's get good takes. Then when we came back after, a month of me being able to reflect on the music and see so much of the country in such a specific and adventurous way, then we came back and we got into the nitty gritty of, okay, let's make this weird.
Right. Excellent. And you have a gentleman by the name of Evan who plays something called a Bucla synthesizer. Is that how it's pronounced? I don't know.
Yep.
What is that?
I really should get a better explanation, because every interview has asked me.
I never heard of it before.
No, it's super cool. It's a really cool synthesizer. From my understanding, it's like an old school analog thing that comes in like a suitcase looking thing. I really don't know synths well enough to tell you or give you a good enough explanation, but it is really cool. The weird textures and sounds on the record are mostly the Bucla synthesizer.
And let's touch on a couple of the songs. My understanding is you write primarily on piano, which I'm guessing the opening track, I Find the Light, is probably one of those.
When the car comes, it picks me up to see you in the morning. All the strange dreams, they never seem to stop me from forgetting you at times.
Cast your mind back to when you were writing this song. Where and when were you, and why did you write it?
Yeah, I wrote the song on guitar, actually.
That figures.
Yeah, and I don't know where what it was after. It was one of the early songs. It was one of the early songs I wrote for this record after the last one came out.
Right.
And after the last record came out, I kind of felt that weight off my chest of like, okay, I can start again. And this time, I made the conscious decision to be more positive and optimistic about things.
Right.
And that was the first song I wrote, just kind of looking around and saying like, I think, I understand what that last record was, and I understand what this next record and chapter is going to be. The first version of the record is like, I really hope I can release it someday. I have 2 early versions of it. That's like kind of like Built to Spill, like Modest Mousy, like kind of like 90s, like Seattle indie rock,
right?
Which did not make the cut at all. But
yeah,
that's what it was.
And I alluded to the video for Brighter Lightning, which is of course the title track.
Cold summer and warm July. Every day brings another light. Oh my God, I don't know why. I tell myself our beach is fine. Oh my God, I can't complain.
Yeah, that song I wrote on piano. The upright piano that was in the house that I grew up in is actually in our living room here in the city. And
Right.
just like one summer after I had been traveling around a bit, 2019, and most of the songs were written and we were getting ready to start scheduling and find, looking for a producer for the record. And I was home. I was the only one here at home, and it was a hot August day. I had all the doors open. I just sat down and started playing it. It just kind of came out. It was seamless. And that was the last song I wrote for the record. It was kind of
it's the last
like
one. Okay.
Yeah, it was the final, ribbon on the whole package, I'd say.
Is that why it's the title track?
I guess so. Yeah, subconsciously, perhaps. I didn't give it too much thought, but yeah, I guess probably so.
Right. And some one of the songs, "The Point of Trying," it almost sounds like a dialogue between people. And is that a fair assumption? And is that how you're thinking?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is a dialogue. I mean, I think for that, it's kind of me against myself. It's just like a conversation in my mind. But
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
But and you do ask yourself, what's the point of even trying? So
Totally. Yeah.
hopefully you're feeling better about it now.
I sure am.
Yeah.
It's
Excellent.
mostly, it's dark humor. I have to add a little bit of humor in my stuff.
Sure. And I see Nels plays some lap steel on "Like This Anymore," which is a pretty groovy track near the end of the record. Tell me about that one.
Thanks.
Time is moving and you're out of sight. All my friends will come out tonight. The rain is hitting and I'm feeling fine. You tell me I'm falling, I say I'm alright. But you know what you needed is here. And you know what your friends say.
He's playing all of those like reversed weird sounds, like midway to the end. That's
Right.
him playing lap steel. He was reversing it in real time, and the interlude too is also just him reversing lap steel in real time. So he played, and then he would just manipulate it, and we all watched him manipulate it, and it was super cool. I don't know.
So that sounds interesting and
Yeah.
very difficult. I don't know. It's complex. Yeah.
Totally.
Because you mentioned, I think in the liner notes the notes that I got sent to me, there were some alternative recording techniques involved. Is that what that's referring to? Or are there other alternative recording techniques that you got up to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was mostly like his bizarro style.
Right.
That added that psychedelic kind of, experimental sounds on some of the records. But I would say Sam's recording style in general is he has his own thing. And that's why I think one of the reasons why he's so popular amongst producers is because he, when I say kind of out there recording techniques, that's just his style. I can't say anything specifically, but yeah, his style is just kind of, like we really wanted to have the record sound like you're in the room, so we mic'd the room. We literally had mics, like throughout the room, so you could hear the creeps and the, everything that happens while we're in there playing.
Right.
So throughout the record, there was just, he'd have these ideas and want to try them, and we would do them. Some of it would make it, some of it wouldn't.
Another song I wanted to touch on, which is probably the most beautiful track on the album, is "Within Forever."
Take a chariot, take another look out, find a country house, take another drive down, take another drive down.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean, has this kind of beautiful, dreamy vocal that you kind of conjured up on that one. And tell me a little bit about the story behind the song, if you will, if there is one.
Yeah, that song is it's a reflection on just thinking about death. It's kind of thinking about, I don't know, really just the beauty of it, the
Right.
simplistic ideas that I have about it. It was just kind of a romantic song about what death might be.
Right.
I don't know what it is. No one does, but
No, it's a great mystery.
yeah, but I wanted to make a song that kind of reflected that, with more wonder rather than, not as sad.
Right.
Something a little bit more wonderful and kind of exciting and picturesque.
Yeah.
So that's what that song is about. And I tried to reflect that too in the sounds and the textures that we conjured up.
Right. Well, I guess it's a subject that's more on people's minds these days with the way things are. Everybody's kind of
Certainly.
locked down and locked in, and kind of a heightened awareness of stuff like that. So,
Totally.
yeah, when you put the record out in next, I assume that that's going to connect with people. How are you planning on connecting with your audience? Are you able to? I assume you can't play any gigs.
Yeah, it's not like New Zealand. You guys have gigs, right?
I'm going out to one tonight. Yes.
That's amazing, man. That's incredible. I'm so jealous. That's incredible. Yeah, no, it's totally not a thing here at all. Mostly. So we're doing a noon chorus show. So we're doing a record release show.
Right.
That's going to be on the 10th. And that's like a ticketed event. So we're trying as hard as possible to, make it be like a record release show.
Sure.
And that's, that wouldn't, we already filmed it. We filmed it up in this really beautiful studio up in the Catskill Mountains called Dreamland.
Right.
And that's Sam Cohen, myself, and Fote. We did the record in its entirety with a full film crew, recorded nicely.
Yeah.
And new versions of it. Not like here's the live version of the record, like completely new takes on it. And that's March 10th.
Oh, great.
So that's the main thing. And then I've got some offers to do like little live stream things on Instagrams and stuff like that. So I guess until touring is back, stuff like that, know.
And you mentioned that these songs and the record was made before COVID. So have you been being creative during this time, or have you been sitting and watching TV?
I mean, honestly, a little bit of both.
Okay.
These days I'm thankfully really busy with the record. So that's been kind of taking up all my time. But I spent a lot of time this summer just honing my craft, just kind of not writing music at all, but practicing guitar, working on my technical ability. Yeah. And now as I get closer to this record being released, now I'm starting to write new music and kind of, obviously I'm not jumping out on the road next week. So
right. Yeah.
The plan
Do you consider yourself more of a piano player or a guitar player at this point?
Guitar player for sure.
Yeah.
Guitar. I wrote most of this record on piano out of a challenge to myself, but guitar is for sure my instrument.
Right. So you seem like it sounds like you like to challenge yourself to make.
I do.
Yeah. So are you thinking about how you're going to challenge yourself in the next one?
Absolutely. I totally am. Yeah. And the answer is I don't know.
Right. Fair enough.
But I do want to do something big for this next one.
And have you been watching what any other artists are doing to deal with this situation that you guys are all in?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've gotten to talk to a lot of them, which is great. And just kind of a few records have come out from friends and from artists who I love throughout this pandemic. And it's been super helpful to, either just kind of watch and see what they do, or to actually get to talk to them about it. And, they've asked me questions about it, and just kind of trading ideas. And it's super nice to have that community.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, it's like putting out a record right now is the weirdest thing ever.
But at the same time, at least from my point of view, being down here in New Zealand, I feel more in touch with musicians all over the planet, because everybody's doing the same thing, and they're more accessible than they were before. So there you go. We just can't see you guys in the flesh on stage, unfortunately.
Absolutely, man. To add to that, I totally agree. Someone asked me that the other day, and I walked away thinking a lot about it. I think that releasing a record right now is actually, obviously it's frustrating in the fact that I can't tour or like, go talk to my new fans in real life.
Right.
But on the other side of it, it seems like everyone is home and everyone is hungry for new music and for interaction.
Yep.
And it seems like people are paying attention on a much deeper level.
Yep.
I think that, the putting out a record right now, it is weird because I don't get to tour immediately or get to go do interviews in person or whatever. But I think that a whole new world has been introduced to my music because everyone's paying attention to what's happening,
Well, they have more time to listen, which is a
Totally.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Well, that's fantastic. Have you ever been down to this part of the world?
I haven't, but I really look forward to it.
Well, it'll happen eventually, I'm sure. We're just kind of closing the borders at the moment, but there you go.
Oof, yeah, man. Yeah, well, good for you guys for having it together.
Well, it's easier when it's a small country surrounded by the ocean.
Totally. Yeah,
let's face
that's
it, the
true.
States is nuts these days. So.
Yo, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You're right, though. It's huge, and there's so many different people, and it's just
everybody has their own opinion.
Sure do.
All righty. Well, thank you very much for talking to me. I appreciate it. Good luck with the record.
Anytime, man.
And
yeah, thank you very much.
Hopefully, we'll see you sometime down here.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, man.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.